And one thing I've noticed about certain members of the military, and I've had that experience with some of the Navy SEALs I've known, it takes a while for them to admit to themselves that they're vulnerable because you're built up in a culture where you're not supposed to be vulnerable. In fact, your strength is your strength, and you've got to put it out there and put your life on the line every day. So to even admit some of these vulnerabilities is a difficult task. No, Marcus?
Yeah. I mean, Amber will tell you, my wife will tell you that, she feels vulnerability is the highest form of strength. When we're willing to admit that we are struggling, that we need help, um, it makes us human. It makes us leaders. It makes us real. The best leaders are the most, the humble ones, the ones that are not bragging, the ones that are not having false bravado by yelling for no reason. It's just the ones that
I've seen a
carry
few of
on
those.
right? There's so many, but the ones that are just true professionals speak when you really need to speak, doesn't need to raise their voice, just trying to get the point across. That's vulnerability. And vulnerability is just saying, hey, I have a shoulder injury. I'm hurt. I need to go see the doctor. I need to get it fixed because I would like to get back in the game. It's the same thing between the years. And that's what I try to tell people. You're not damaged for life. It's something that you may just have to fix temporarily. You fix it and you get back in the game. You're normal. You're still the same person. You're a better version of yourself when you fix it. And so is everybody else around you. Because when you're struggling, like you're not the only one, right? It's your
Right.
coworkers, it's your wife, it's your kids. It's like, you know, Joe is not doing well, so nobody around him is doing well, right? Let's fix Joe. If Joe fixes himself, then everybody else gets better.
How do you
Yeah,
how do you how do you convince? And again going back to the lawmakers and my Star Trek reference, but
Yeah.
how do you when you sit down and talk to a lawmaker, what do you open with? How do you convince them if specifically if they're skeptical?
Mark, I'm curious what you have to say, but I just want to insert one little thing is that I really feel, I just want to piggyback on what Marcus said. Vulnerability as superpower, taking a Navy SEAL who's just been kind of beaten over 300 missions a year, 15 years in a row, 20 years in a row. These guys are at the end of that exhausted and beaten down and just have injuries they can't deal with. Um, they might feel, just worthless, that they've kind of lost their way, lost their reason to swing their feet out of bed in the morning. The kind of crazy thing that happens in the film, and you see this, and Marcus himself was an example of this, is when they turn it around and they start to admit that vulnerability, that in itself becomes a way to help others. And I'm going to get to your question about legislators. When they show that vulnerability and their willingness to help others who are suffering, the people, the policymakers, they get that because they've seen it. They have friends, family in their own life that need that kind of help. And it's almost like these Navy SEALs are sort of throwing us a lifeline and saying, hey, we're gonna pull you out of this trench that you're in, and we're gonna show you potential solution to what ails you. And I really do think that's the magic of Marcus and Amber stepping up and being willing to tell their story and say, hey, we need to get others down here. We need to show them what helped us to get us out of this.
Marcus?